The line that wants to open this portal is simple. Place your hand on your heart. Feel that, hermetically. It's a ghost signal in a dream. Sophia Hokmat is about to cut the wire. When the signal dies, what exactly are you? We won't ask you to move a muscle. You don't need to do anything for what follows. Just listen. Let the words arrange themselves like stars, and let what is true stand up on its own. If what you've called solid has always been the shadow on the wall, then what casts the light? If the ache you carried was the echo, not the source. What happens when the room falls silent? Not emptiness, recognition. Not disbelief, clarity. You don't defeat a shadow, you recognize the lamp. You don't negotiate with an illusion. You outgrow the angle that made it look real. And when the picture that tried to name you loses its frame, something older than fear steps forward. Unbothered, unbroken, already whole. They called him Thoth, a title, a function, a keeper of measure, and they called her Sophia Hokmat. Wisdom spoken as guidance, never as worship. Together, in stories carried across thresholds of time. They point, they don't demand, they reveal, they don't replace. Their message is not a contest with faith. It is a mirror held to the mind that mistakes the mirror for the face. If the world that stung you is projection, who is the projector? If the script keeps changing, yet the witness remains, which one are you? Notice how the oldest questions do not shout. They arrive like a key placed quietly in your palm. What if pain requires a costume to be believed? What if the costume only fits so long as you pretend you are smaller than you are? The moment the costume loosens, the story loses its teeth. And when a story loses its teeth, it stops biting, no matter how loud it tries to sound. You've heard of laws. Rhythm, correspondence, vibration. Not as superstition, but as descriptions of how experience arranges itself. As above, so below, as within, so without. Not a slogan, a symmetry. Every heavy feeling you've worn like iron was an angle of perception. The setting on the dial changed the setting. The same world is no longer the same. The street is the street, but the weight in your chest is not the street. The message of this work is not to challenge your belief in the Creator. It is to challenge your belief that the projection on the wall is the Creator's limit. The real does not tremble when a mask falls. Only the mask trembles. And if suffering is a mask, if it needs misidentification to stand, then the quietest act of truth is simply this. Remember what you are not. The rest, every clatter of fear, every false emergency, begins to run out of fuel on its own. So, keep your seat in stillness. No ritual, no posture, no steps. Let the image of the ghost signal remain a metaphor, nothing more. A way to say that what feels most obvious can be the most persuasive dream. When dreams are named as dreams, they have no authority over the day. If you've ever felt the stage set look too neat, the coincidence is too crisp. That wasn't madness, that was the seam line. Pull one thread of misunderstanding and entire costumes come loose. This is not rebellion against reality. It is reverence for reality beyond appearances. It is not an argument with the world. It is an end to arguing with yourself. If a door has always been a painting of a door, what opens is not wood. It is insight. What steps through is not a new person. It is the same unshaken awareness, finally standing where it always stood. Stay with me, not to obey, not to perform, to see. We will speak plainly. We will not ask you to imitate anything. And we will not offer spectacle for its own sake. When we say, cut the wire, understand, we mean the wire that powered the misunderstanding, not the life that was entrusted to you. When we say the signal dies, understand. Only the interference fades. What's real does not die. And when we ask, what exactly are you? It isn't a dare. It is an old welcome. The invitation to recognize the one who never needed rescue. If the shadow is convincing, it is only because the light behind it is strong. That's the quiet secret. The strength was never outside you. It was the witness, patient, undefeated, waiting for the noise to finish speaking. And now, listen, the noise is starting to sound like what it is, a costume closing its own curtain. The picture keeps playing because the reel keeps turning, not out there, but in the small room where meanings are assigned. Shadows don't choose the shapes they make, angles do. Change the angle, and yesterday's monster becomes a harmless outline on a wall. This is why the fiercest scenes dissolve the moment a higher frame is remembered. Not denial, discernment, not pretending. Perceiving, if a cry in a dream felt like thunder, it was only because the sleeper forgot they were dreaming. The thunder ends not by force, but by waking. And waking, here, is a word for seeing through, a grace that doesn't shout, a clarity that doesn't beg permission. Thoth, as custodian of measure in the old stories, is not presented to replace what you hold sacred. He arrives as a metaphor for alignment, a reminder that error is often just mismeasurement. Measure a horizon with a ruler meant for a heartbeat, and you'll swear the world is broken. Measure a feeling with a law meant for stone, and you'll call yourself weak. Sophia Hokmat, wisdom as guidance, doesn't argue with the sky. She simply points to the window and asks, is the glass making the world look smaller, or are you? When the glass is cleaned, the world was not enlarged. Your view was. And with that, the panic that came from cramped seeing quietly runs out of breath. Suffering, in this telling, is not an eternal principle. It is a dependency. It must borrow identity to stand. It needs you to believe that the costume is the skin, that the dent in the mask is a wound in the face. The old texts describe torments, but hear that word as programs, not punishments, subroutines that keep the projector pointed the same way. Envy only runs when you forget you are not missing. Anger only spikes when you forget the scene is partial. Despair only deepens when you forget the sky behind the weather. Programs are persuasive, yes, but they are still programs. And programs cannot outlive the operator who stops supplying power. Consider rhythm, the ancient note that everything moves, everything swings. Waves rise, waves fall, seasons widen and recede. The mistake was never that the pendulum swings. The mistake was kneeling to the swing as if it were a judge. Stand where the hinge lives, at the quiet axis, and the same movement that once dragged you becomes information, not indictment. The high tide no longer feels like a verdict. The low tide no longer feels like abandonment. You stop taking weather personally. You stop reading passing clouds as permanent law. And the moment the temporary is kept in its place, the permanent stops feeling far. What, then, of non-reality? The phrase sounds sharp, but its edge is mercy. It doesn't call the world worthless, it calls appearances provisional. A mirage is not evil, it is water-shaped light. A nightmare is not truth, it is fear. Shaped story. Non-reality says, the stage is here to carry meaning, not to imprison meaning. The mountain is still a mountain. The child is still precious. Justice still matters. Gratitude still heals. Only the claim that the moving picture has the right to rename your essence is refused. That is the cut wire. Not life, not love. Only the wire that fed the error that you are less than the witness watching. So the question returns, not as a threat, but as a soft drum under the words. When the signal quiets, what exactly are you? Not the name that changes, not the role that rotates, not the weather that passes. You are the awareness that remains when roles conclude. The unpanicked center when the scene tries to sell you urgency. The intact clarity that does not compete with faith, does not contradict devotion, does not require spectacle to be real. Call it witness, call it intellect refined, call it the lamp behind the shadow. By any name, it does not tremble, and as this recognition steadies gently, privately, the picture that once held power loses its grip, like misremembering the sun. There is a difference between role and root. Roles rotate: student, parent, seeker, builder. Masks that serve a moment. Then bow out. Root remains, the quiet awareness that does not become smaller when a scene ends, does not become larger when applause arrives. Confusion begins when a temporary costume applies for permanence. The costume says, "Without me, you are nothing." The root smiles not with arrogance, but with certainty, because it remembers value is not earned by a part. Value is carried by the one who can play many parts without forgetting the stage is not the home. This is not disdain for the world, it is dignity within it, a way of standing that honors life, while refusing to be named by passing labels. Pain gains leverage through misnaming. Call a shadow a threat, and you'll prepare for war against a wall. Call a season a sentence, and you'll try to freeze summer so winter cannot come. When names are corrected, energy returns to wisdom. Loss becomes transition, and grief is allowed to be human without claiming the throne. Failure becomes feedback, and courage returns to its feet. Delay becomes timing, and patience stops sounding like exile. Words do not create reality, but they open or close doorways in the mind. Close the door that says, "I am only what happened." Open the door that says, "I remain while things happen." The projector keeps working. It is the story inside the lens that changes, and with it, the feeling of the light. The old phrase, "as above, so below," is not a rivalry between realms. It is a reminder of harmony. Conscience above, conduct below. Intention above, interaction below. Truth above, testimony below. When the inner measure is kept, balance, fairness, gratitude, restraint, the outer arrangement begins to echo it, sometimes slowly, sometimes suddenly. This is not a guarantee of ease. It is a guarantee of orientation. A compass does not stop storms. It stops you from walking in circles, and that is how suffering loses territory. Not by pretending clouds are blue sky, but by knowing where east is when visibility drops. Direction is deliverance. Clarity is shelter. If vibration is the language of form, then attention is the hand that tunes. Wherever attention rests, stories gather. Wherever attention withdraws, stories fade. This isn't an invitation to abandon duty or compassion. It is a sober caution about what deserves your center. Place the crown on fear, and fear will legislate. Seat patience on the throne, and outcomes begin to breathe. When the inner court is arranged with wisdom, humility, sincerity, care for others, noise has fewer places to echo. You don't need to shout at echoes. You need fewer empty halls. The self that knows its source becomes a room where harmful rumors cannot live long. And what of the ancient names that walk through this narrative? Thoth as measure, Sophia Hokmat as wisdom. Hear them as symbols pointing toward alignment, never as substitutes for devotion. The purpose is not to invent new idols. The purpose is to retire the old illusions. Wisdom does not ask for worship, it asks for honesty. Measure does not demand applause, it restores proportion. If a metaphor lifts your gaze beyond the screen, keep it. If it promotes confusion, drop it. The real does not fear inspection. The real does not bargain for your heart with tricks. The real is the ground beneath every good vow you've ever kept. Mercy when you could have mocked, restraint when you could have raged. Truth when silence would have paid more. Here is the quiet scandal at the center. What you are cannot be harmed by what you are not. The picture may tremble, the mask may crack, the role may retire, the schedule may change, yet the witness remains, lucid and intact. Call it intellect refined, call it clarity, call it awareness. It does not need flattery to stay. It does not need fear to learn. You don't have to win against shadows you didn't hire. You only have to stop signing their contracts. And once the signature is withdrawn, the performance cannot continue. Not because the stage burned down, but because the audience finally recognized the play. The mind loves props, titles, trophies, timelines, and then forgets they were props. It tapes them to the mirror and calls them me, then panics when the tape heals. But the mirror was never the stickers. The mirror was the clear. What if dignity is not a number you reach, but a light you refuse to dim? What if worth is not an argument you win, but a certainty that does not audition? When labels get loud, let their volume expose their dependence. Anything that needs your fear to exist cannot define you. Anything that collapses when you stop agreeing was never your size. Illusion keeps its footing through two tricks: misplacement and magnification. Misplacement says, this passing scene is the center. Magnification says, this small moment is the whole sky. Move the center back to truth. Awareness, conscience, fairness, and the scene is reshelved as important, not ultimate. Shrink the moment to its actual scale, a page, not the book, and air returns to the room. Notice how the same event, properly placed and rightly sized, loses the sting that felt permanent. The picture didn't vanish, the exaggeration did, and with exaggeration gone, clarity can work without shouting. There are patterns that talk like destiny, jealousy rehearsed until it sounds like justice, despair repeated until it sounds like realism. But repetition is not proof. It is practice. If a sentence has been read 1,000 times, it still surrenders to a single honest comma. So too with inner weather. The thunder may be familiar, the storyline may be smooth, and yet one clean correction of meaning opens a window the storm cannot close. I am finished becomes I am refining. I am alone becomes I am between. I am behind becomes I am arriving. These are not slogans, they are accurate maps. Maps don't erase terrain. They prevent you from mistaking a bend for a wall. Measure, in the older tales, was never about cold arithmetic. It was mercy disguised as precision. To measure a thought against truth is to protect the heart from overpaying. To measure a reaction against conscience is to keep strength from becoming harm. This is why wisdom is drawn as guidance, not spectacle, because what saves a life is usually a quiet correction. Inside the sentence, we tell ourselves, the correction sounds simple, almost shy. You are not the mask. You are not the noise. You do not owe your future to yesterday's error. And simplicity here isn't naive. It is surgical. Complication is how illusions buy time. When people speak of vibration, strip away the glitter and hear the ordinary meaning. What you dwell on deepens. What you starve loses influence. Give the throne to bitterness, and it will legislate every hallway. Seat gratitude on the throne, not as denial of pain, but as refusal to forget gifts, and suddenly corridors open that were locked a minute ago. This is not magic against reality. It is maturity within it. A bitter mind can have a full table and starve. A grateful mind can have a simple plate and be strong. The difference is not decoration. The difference is direction. So the question returns with steady steps, not to corner you, but to clear a space. If the light behind the shadow is yours, why keep arguing with the shadow? If the witness in you remains unburned after every fire, why let the smoke rename you? Call the passing by its right name. Passing, call the permanent by its right name. Entrust it. Keep faith, keep proportion, keep your word when no one is watching. And watch how the loudest illusions begin to mumble. The world still moves, the roles still change, but the root does not wobble. And from that root, even the hardest day loses the right to be called ultimate. There is a rumor that clarity makes people cold, that if you see the picture as projection, you'll stop caring about those inside it. The opposite is true. When you stop mistaking smoke for stone, your hands are freer to lift what's fallen. Compassion grows when panic shrinks. Justice becomes cleaner when vengeance retires. You don't minimize pain by recognizing illusion. You stop glamorizing the illusions that multiply pain. The screen is still bright, The stories are still human. The tears are still honest. Only now, you refuse to let a passing scene declare a permanent verdict on a soul. Fate speaks loudly when we forget our axis. It arrives as mood, dressed like law. This is who you are, forever. But forever is a word misused by fear. What lasts is not the costume. What lasts is the conscience that chooses within the costume. Choice is smaller than fantasy and greater than spectacle. A sentence held back when anger wants to win. A promise kept when no one is clapping. A prayer of gratitude whispered where complaint would be easier. These are not fireworks, they are foundations. And foundations are how houses stand when winds perform their old theater. Do not confuse non-reality with nothing matters. What matters becomes clearer. Truth over noise, mercy over mockery, fairness over appetite. The projector metaphor does not erase responsibility. It reveals it. If light passes through our meanings before it touches the world, then meanings are sacred work. Call people by names that leave them room to rise. Call yourself by names that leave you room to repent and repair. If a headline inside your mind says, hopeless, edit it. If a headline says, only me, widen it. You are not a sealed room. You are a corridor where better words can walk through. The old symbols return, not to be bowed to, but to help you see straight. Thoth, measure, so your scales are honest when weighing your own motives. Sophia Hokmat, wisdom, so your steps honor what is right, not what is fashionable. When the balance is true and the counsel is clean, noise tires quickly. You sense the trap inside flattery, and you step past it. You hear the temptation inside bitterness, and you answer with patience. Less drama, more dignity. Less posing, more proportion. It looks quiet from the outside, and it moves mountains on the inside. Patterns will still try their rehearsed entrances. Envy will knock, wearing the cologne of fairness. Despair will stand at the door, quoting realism. Pride will write you a speech about strength that conveniently forgets humility. Let them talk, and then check the measure. Does this voice make you smaller, meaner, less faithful to what you know is right? If yes, it is not your teacher. Step back to the axis, the place in you that prefers clean over clever, steadfast over spectacular. From there, even loud temptations sound like what they are, attempts to rent the throne for a night. And so the question keeps its post at the gate, gentle. Unwavering when the signal quiets, what exactly are you? Not the rumor others brand on your skin, not the scoreboard that once felt like oxygen, not the echo chamber that mistook certainty for care. You are the witness entrusted with choice, the clarity that guards its tongue. The heart that remembers kindness is strength. Keep the lamp steady. Let the shadow do what shadows do. Stretch at noon. Grow tall at dusk. Disappear when morning insists. The light was never on loan. It was yours, and you were meant to use it well. Power without proportion becomes theater. Proportion without compassion becomes ice. What you are asked to remember now is the marriage of the two: strength that refuses cruelty, clarity that refuses contempt. Illusion often dresses itself in urgency. Fix it now, prove it now, win it now. But urgencies that bully the conscience are counterfeits. The real signal is quieter, steady as a heartbeat. You don't need to chase. When that steadiness returns, noise loses its audience. You stop arguing with shadows and start safeguarding what is truly in your care, your word, your measure, your treatment of others. Suffering makes its loudest case when identity is rented to the loudest moment. A harsh comment becomes a crown. A setback becomes a surname. But names given by passing weather don't survive sunrise. The scene insists, "This is you." The root replies, "I remain while this passes." Notice how dignity expands when you decline the invitation to be small. You don't need a speech, only a refusal. A refusal to trade truth for applause. A refusal to trade patience for spectacle. a refusal to call bitterness wisdom, because it sounds sophisticated in the dark. Hermetic language speaks of correspondence and rhythm. But the heart already knows the translation. As above, so below simply means this: when you keep your inner ledger honest, the outer dealings begin to echo it. Not instantly, not with fireworks, but faithfully. A merchant who cheats himself will eventually cheat his neighbor. A soul that guards fairness within finds cleaner hands without. Rhythm adds the second key. The swing will swing. Highs visit, lows visit. You are not the crest. You are not the trough. You are the unmoved axis around which the wave circles and tires. When we mention Thoth, think measure. The calm that weighs a moment before it speaks. When we mention Sophia Hokmat, think wisdom. The counsel that prefers clean outcomes over dramatic ones. Neither asks for adoration. Both ask for accuracy. Accuracy in how you name what is happening. Accuracy in how you treat the people who cannot repay you. Accuracy in how you correct yourself when no one is watching. This kind of accuracy doesn't make life smaller. It makes the heart large enough to hold complexity without breaking into cruelty. There is a pattern that loves to masquerade as courage, performance. It rushes to declare victory, to announce enlightenment, to collect titles for the shelf. But shelves do not carry souls. Shelves carry dust. Quiet reforms carry souls. Returning what isn't yours. Apologizing without drama. Choosing restraint when triumph would be easy and unkind. These are not small in the ledger that matters. They are the architecture of a life that cannot be purchased by fear and cannot be rented by rage. So the question remains on its patient watchtower, unchanged, untired, when the signal quiets. What exactly are you? Not the glare of attention, not the tremor of approval, not the costume of certainty that needs an audience to breathe. You are the witness entrusted with balance. You are the clarity that keeps mercy close. You are the heart that remembers value is not a trophy. It is a trust. Keep the lamp high and the scale true. Let shadows stretch if they must. Morning does not debate with them. It simply reveals what was always there. There is a silence older than every storyline, not empty, not careless, just unbothered by costumes. Noise insists it is the world. Silence knows it is only the hallway. When you lean into that older quiet, you don't become passive, you become precise. Fear speaks in headlines. Always, never, everyone, no one. Truth speaks in sentences, measured, fair, unwilling to smear an entire sky, because one cloud passed loud. Precision does not make life smaller. It makes harm harder to sneak in. Exaggeration loses its stage. Panic loses its microphone. And in that clearing, mercy can finally hear itself think. Identity borrowed from applause is a tent in bad weather. Impressive at noon, shredded by night. Identity trusted to conscience is a house with deep footings. Not flashy, but it stands. This is how the picture begins to loosen its grip. You stop negotiating your worth with moments that can't keep their promises. A delay no longer writes your name. A rumor no longer edits your story. A closed door is allowed to be a closed door, not a prophecy. You don't need to punish what passed. You only need to refuse it the keys to your future. Memory can be cruel. When it is curated by fear, it highlights humiliation, dims help, replays the one scene where you stumbled, forgets the 10 scenes where you stood back up. Recurating is not pretending. It is telling the whole truth. Yes, I fell, and I rose. Yes, they spoke, and I chose better than their words. When the ledger is honest, strength stops sounding like anger and starts sounding like accuracy. Accuracy is a shield that does not harm the hand that holds it. It protects without poisoning. It remembers without revenging. It keeps the heart from paying debts it does not owe. There is a courage that does not dress like a shout. The courage to stay clean when bitterness would be fashionable. To keep faith with your own measures when shortcuts wave their banners, to prefer right over dramatic. This isn't the theater of invincibility, it is the practice of integrity. The quiet refusal to sell your center for a moment of noise. The projector still hums, the scenes still shift, but the light passing through your meanings is clearer. Where clarity flows, harm has fewer places to hide. Where fairness rules, regret finds less soil to grow. When we speak of measure and wisdom, the old symbols people used to carry lessons. Take the lesson and leave the costume if it confuses you. Measure asks, is this fair? Wisdom asks, is this kind and true? If both answers return clean, if either stumbles, pause. Pausing is not weakness. It is respect for the weight of your next step. The strongest lives are not made of endless motion. They are made of chosen motion. Direction outruns speed. Purpose outruns spectacle. A single step in the right direction embarrasses 1,000 in circles. So the watchful question remains, steady, patient, almost tender. When the signal quiets, what exactly are you? Not the echo that tried to rename you. Not the glare that tried to buy you. Not the script that promised. Meaning, if you'd only forget your own measures, you are the witness entrusted with a lamp and a scale. Light for seeing, balance for judging. Keep them both where you can reach them. Let storms perform their temporary theater. The sky they borrow does not belong to them, and it never will. There is a moment when the picture knows it's only a picture, and it softens, not into nothing, but into meaning, not into denial, but into dignity. You are not the loudest scene you survived. You are not the rumor that tried to rename you. You are not the costume that begged to be permanent. You are the steady witness, the lamp behind the shadow. The measure that keeps mercy close. When the signal quiets. What exactly are you? You are the one who remains, who chooses, who refuses to trade truth for spectacle, who remembers that value is a trust, not a trophy. Let the world keep its noise, let your heart keep its proportion. If a door closes, it is a door, not a verdict. If a voice mocks, it is a voice, not a law. The axis does not bow to weather. The compass does not forget east, because the sky is dim. You came this far not to become harder, but to become clear. Clear in your dealings. Clear in your dealings. Clear in your care for people who can't repay you. That is strength without cruelty. That is power without theater. That is the kind of clarity that cannot be bought and will not be bullied. We spoke of measure and wisdom as old symbols, never to challenge faith, only to correct the angle of seeing. Keep what helps you stand straighter. Set down what confuses. The real does not need costumes to endure. The real is the ground beneath every good vow you've kept. The breath that returns when anger passes, the calm that refuses to perform bitterness. If the picture shakes, let it shake. If the mask cracks, let it crack. The face beneath does not need rescue from what was never its size. This is where we end, not in thunder, but in truth. If these words lifted weight from your chest, guard that light. If they widened your horizon, keep that window clean. If they reminded you that you are more than the scene, walk like someone who remembers. Not louder, truer, not harder. Steadier. Let your life be the quiet proof that clarity and compassion can share the same spine. Now, the ask, simple, human, and sincere. If this message served you, carry it forward. Share it with someone who is hurting and needs a steadier sky. Leave a respectful note below, so others know they're not alone. And if you're ready for deeper portals into alignment and integrity, subscribe and turn on notifications. Not for noise, but for nourishment. We will keep building this sanctuary of clear words and clean measures. No drama, no despair. Just the steady work of becoming who you were trusted to be. Stay with the lamp, keep the scale true, and when the chorus of fear returns, as it does, let it find a heart that will not sell its center. You are not the storm, you are the sky it borrows. Welcome to the next chapter, and thank you for standing in the light.